Talking to a camera doesn't come naturally to most of us, me included, so it's a skill that we have to develop to become better content creators. It really comes down to being comfortable and confident as we're speaking to the camera, and I found these 7 tips in particular to be very helpful. And the YouTube retention folks want me to say that tip number 6 might be my favorite, so be sure to stick around. To not waste any time, my first tip is to practice, then practice, then practice some more.
We're talking about practice, man. We're talking about practice. We're talking about practice.
Practice what you want to say as much as possible so you're extremely comfortable with the material. Practice in the shower, practice in the car, just practice everywhere. I find it really helpful to practice in the location where I'm going to film, and sometimes I even turn on the camera and do a dry run a day or two out to make sure I really know what I'm gonna say. You may have heard some YouTubers say they just turn on the camera and start talking. Trust me, that's not something very many of us can do with any level of success, and unless you're really a unicorn of a speaker, I highly recommend practicing as much as possible. Tip number 2 is to dress for success. Talking to a camera is already an unnatural experience, and it can be a big help to wear clothes that make you feel more comfortable. For example, if you typically wear sweatshirts all day, putting on a dress shirt to film a video just starts you out feeling uncomfortable. And another example would be if you have some cool looking sweater that you want to wear in a video, but your environment is already warm and wearing a sweater just causes you to overheat and start sweating, it's going to make you feel uncomfortable. And feeling uncomfortable means stress is going to go up and performance is going to go down. As a bit of a spin-off from the last tip, tip number 3 is to use a flattering background, camera angle, and lighting to look and feel your best. Now, we all feel more confident when we know we're looking good. You can think of situations like if we get a fresh haircut, or a new pair of shoes, or even driving around in a freshly washed car. And there are ways we can transfer that feeling to a video. Now, while the technical breakdowns of lighting, background, and camera angles are each video topics in their own right, keep in mind that maximizing those can give us the same feeling as walking down the street in a brand new designer outfit. You know, we just start from a position of confidence and almost want people to look at us. So be sure to put enough thought into those areas. Tip number 4 is to film without others around. I've made a decent number of videos to date, and something almost every filming session has in common is that I film my talking portions when nobody else is around. That includes my wife, my kids, everybody. In fact, right now, everyone else in my household is asleep. For whatever reason, filming in seclusion just feels better. I don't have to think about if anyone else thinks I'm funny or weird, or if they'll think I'm ridiculous if I fumble a line and do a retake. And this just allows me to be much more natural than if I had some type of audience. And it really significantly improves the quality of the video. It kind of lets me get into this flow state with the camera, and I just feel much more comfortable with shooting. The next tip is to allow plenty of time for filming. Now, certainly rushing through anything usually isn't a good idea, and rushing a filming session also falls on that list. If we know we're pressed for time, the creative juices just flow a lot less, and we're more likely to stumble over our words, and ultimately it's going to result in a lower viewer experience when they later see the final product. And keep in mind that if you only have a certain block of time to film and you also have to set up all your equipment during the same block of time before you even press record, the equipment setup is usually going to take longer than we all think, myself included, so be sure to factor that in. I've heard a number of the actors from the TV show The Office talk about how their directors would actually have them do real office work for like 30 minutes before they started filming for the day just to get in the right mode or mindset. Now, I don't really have that kind of time, but I do find it helpful to hit record on the camera and just talk for a minute or two before getting into that video's material. Now, that might be talking about the video, it might be talking about my camera settings, it might be talking about my day, or even just things I see around the room, but I found it just helps me to slow down and allows me to get really into the vibe before filming the real video. Tip number 6 for improving on-camera performance is to understand that your video probably isn't going to be perfect. This video isn't perfect, my delivery of all the words isn't going to be perfect, the lighting isn't perfect, my hair isn't perfect, well, maybe my hair is perfect, but the beauty is, unless we're getting paid millions to make a Hollywood blockbuster movie, it doesn't have to be perfect. And I think that essentially lowering the bar of our expectations can really help us with confidence and performance, and just knowing that it neither has to be perfect, nor is anyone really expecting it to be perfect. And taking that pressure off can allow us to calm down, relax, and just give a better performance. And maybe this should have been the first tip, but perhaps the biggest tip for on-camera performance is to just be yourself. For some reason, a lot of us tend to just suddenly talk or act differently when a camera turns on. We'll do things like talk super loud or talk like a news reporter or even become super animated with our hands. Maybe I do that a little. And I suppose that's because we have some subconscious belief that that's what someone on video is supposed to do. But if that's completely unlike our true personality, it's a terrible idea. If for no other reason, it's just perpetuating this thought that our normal personality isn't good enough to share with others. And if we're going to be a content creator and put out regular content for a long time, as I hope you all are, our real personality is going to have to shine through at some point, and taking on a different on-camera persona is a lot of work that we probably can't keep up. And if we're going to develop a community of supporters and followers, we want those folks to know who we are, and so they can enjoy our content for who we really are. So just keep it real with the audience. As I mentioned before, my goal with this channel is to help everyone on their content creation journey. So you can click here for another video to help on the way, and please let me know in the comments if there are any other video topics that you'd find helpful.